Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of What's on the Bench. It's been a while since we've been out here in the barn making knives together. I've been making cabinets, I've been gardening, I've been teaching. Geez, I think the last time I was actually out here, I had hair. It's gone. So, let me put this back on here. It's March 19th and it is cold today. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new knife together. I've been trying to decide what type of knife to make on my first episode back here, and I think I've decided to make a cleaver. This is like a normal size house cleaver. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 2 inches of length on the end of it, so it is going to be a real heavy duty chopper. Come on, meet me out at the grinder. Got to kind of cut down the shape now. I don't know if you can see my outline, but we're getting there. I'm going to use the drill press to cut this nice circular arc in the handle. I'll just use a carbide steel bit. Beats trying to cut around corners. I'll do that again back here on this back arch. It'll just make my cutting a little bit easier. Go ahead and cut the arch in for that back piece of the handle. This just makes shaping that handle so much easier. It's just going to make cutting those arches now so much easier. Alright, as you can see, I've got the basic shape cut in with the angle grinder. And now what I'll do is I'll come in with my belt sander and I will refine all of the lines and curves. And what you'll also notice what I will do too is, see how the cleaver is flat right now when it hits the surface? You want a cleaver to kind of rock, so I've got to put just a tiny bit of an arc at the bottom of this too, so you can roll and cut. When you hit, it rolls and cuts either way, tip or that way. And I'll work on that, and it has to be pretty specific on that because you don't want it rocking too much, because then all of your pressure is going to be on one tiny little spot in the arc. And you want it a nice long arc so it's kind of spread out just a little bit more when you do a chop. So now let's move over to the belt sander. For this portion, I've got on a real heavy grit sandpaper because I need to hog off a bunch of material. Alright, so here's what we got after day one. This is my shape that I want. I've got it really close to where I want to go with the outer diameter, outer shape. Now I've got to figure out where I want to put my pinholes and how far up the blade I want the grind to go. So I'll catch up with you tomorrow and we'll lay that stuff out. See you later. So we've got our knife laid out here, and I'm going to take the grind line somewhere right in between these two lines. So that bevel is going to go all the way up to here. And then back here on the handle, I'm going to have 3 pins. 1, 2, 3. You got to be careful when you do these and really pay attention because they really stick out if you don't have these points spaced perfectly. And I want the knife to look pretty damn good, so measured it instead of just eyeballing it. But what the heck, it'll still work. See, I got my holes drilled for my handle pins. This large hole right here that my finger's behind, that is going to hold it into my jig. But you'll see I put little divots on the handle, and that is just to give it more space for epoxy to sink in there and get a better grip when I affix the handle to that. You won't find that in store-bought knives. They just slap epoxy right onto flat metal. And this just gives it more surface area for epoxy to sit and hold that handle on so it'll never come off. There you go. I'm getting ready to start my grinding on it. So according to Miss Bromwell's geometry, from here to here, I know the width. I need to cut it now at a 2.4 degree angle to get my cutting geometry that I'm looking for. Geometry in real life. Let's get it out to the sander. So I've got my knife about halfway ground to the line where I want to stop, but I have to stop right now because as I'm taking this side down, I'm getting the edge real thin. I still have to harden my knife, and I don't want that edge too thin before I harden it. Otherwise, this will heat up unevenly than the rest of it and will get too hot, and it will cause brittleness. So here's the knife totally cooling now in the vise to keep it straight. And you can see how it's turned black from the oil that I dipped it in. The handle isn't black because I didn't dip into oil. So looking at this knife, I'm getting ready to start hand sanding it. You can see all the forged scale here that I'm going to get off. You know when you season a cast iron oven? That's exactly what this is. This is cooked on oil, and it's a booger to get. Here we go, starting to hand sand, get off some of the scale. Ever think you want to clean one of your cast iron skillets with sandpaper? Don't. It'll take forever. Let me shut some music off here so I can talk. Pause. All right. That's about an hour later for this side. Can you see the spots that I have on here? That's why I'm saying this knife is probably not conducive for a all-out polish throughout the entire area, because I would have to take down these spots so far. I'd thin out the spine, and I want something really thick and heavy. So I'm going to concentrate on just really polishing the cutting area edge here. And then from about here up, I'm going to probably etch with something. So, time to go up in the next grit of sandpaper. Working 400 grit sandpaper now. Hour this side, hour the next side. So here's the rough shape of the handle. See why I called it a Coke bottle? Let's go ahead and attach some handles. Now, I'm mixing up some epoxy to attach my handles, but in addition to the epoxy, I also use mechanical fasteners. I use brass pins also. I do that on every single one of my knives. It's just more secure. It is just more secure. I don't want a handle just coming off. So, epoxy and mechanical hardeners. You can see on the handle I got over here, I've got little divots also placed on the inside of the handle. That's just more place for more epoxy to sit and attach the handle. I would rather take off excess than not have enough. I don't want my knife to fail at the handle. So, don't want to get epoxy on my knife blade itself. So now, line up the holes. Line up the holes. Middle one first. Well, I got the clamps off the knife handle. Let's see how it turned out. Looks good. Got to do some fine tuning down. Didn't show the process, but here's the knife handle. I just coated the handle with super glue. That is how I do a nice waterproof seal on it and harden that wood to withstand use. That's what color the handle's going to be. Gotta let that dry now for about 2 days. Then I gotta start sanding it with about 400 grit sandpaper, then I polish it. And it'll be like got the first coat of super glue on. Now it's time to hand sand with 400 sandpaper. Well, let's check out the results of 3 coats of super glue. Shut up, chicken, trying to film here. 52.563 hours of sanding with sandpaper. Not bad. Time to dunk. Just let her be. Let that, what I'll do is I'll let that sit for probably an hour or two, take a peek at it, and see what color we're at. Jesus, sandals, chicken, I'm trying to film here. That's about as dark as I want to go. Let me move this out of the way here. This is vinegar. All right, chicken, let's have a little courtesy here. I'm trying to film. That's about as dark as I want it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it in the house and just neutralize the vinegar so I don't. Here's a nice comparison. The bottom cleaver is a cook's choice. Top one's my cleaver. Don't know how well we'll be able to see it in this video. Can you see the thickness difference of the blade? A little heftier.